Dwayne Kavanaugh here. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This is part of our multifamily series. I'm here with Mehdi Motevalibashi of Bashi Homes, and he is just phenomenal at building stuff. And we're just going to be talking about when it comes to the planning phase of thinking about, whether you're going to retrofit a multifamily property or build new. Some of the things that we're going to talk about today is number one, just under the assessment and planning stage, we're going to talk about evaluating the current condition of the building. We're going to lean on Mehdi's advice on determining renovation goals and budgets. And we'll also be considering zoning regulations, building codes, and permits that are required. So interesting topic. I think people are going to love hearing from your expertise, Betty. But the first question I think I'll throw out to you is if I'm thinking about retrofitting an apartment building and doing a renovation, for assessment and planning, what's the first thing I need to start thinking about when it comes to evaluating the current condition of the building?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dwayne. So the first we got to think about our goal with the renovation. So when I look at a property, when I want to even to buy for myself a property, I see what is the extent of the renovation needed for this house. Like some of them are more like closer to like turnkey, not completely, but like for value add. Some of them are like more cosmetic renovation. Some of them are more structural. It depends on like the level of like how comfortable you are going into like heavy construction, which I think there are values and risk for both of these. And so this is from internal point of view. The second I look at the land, like if it's a big lot, if there's any potential for future like additions to the house to make it like turn it from like a one bed to three bed, or to put a like ADU, additional dwelling unit, or garden suite at the back. There are huge potentials that we can turn like a one unit, just one bungalow into a four unit. So those are the things that I consider. Obviously, a, a building inspection is always recommended, is always needed, just to make sure that the structure is sound and we're not overseeing anything in this process.
Yeah,
And
that's funny. That's funny that you say ADU. I was out for dinner with my mother-in-law last night, and she's like, "Hey, Dwayne, can you guys build an ADU in your backyard? Can I sell my place and move in there?" I'm like, "Hey, I know a guy. I know Mehdi. He can get this done for us too." But it was just funny that we were talking about that last night.
yeah, those are actually great. Like the rent for an ADU is like sometimes is much higher than the units on the main building, because that's a separate new build unit versus that the old building is the oldest structure, is an older structure, is renovated but old structure, and it's usually like top and bottom two units or side by side two units. It's still there's like some stuff shared, like for example sound barriers never 100%. The like the furnace and the ducting will still like move or circulate the smell or whatever. So the one detached ADU in the back is the most favorable thing.
And they're nice, and especially with Hamilton, I know it sounds like it's new news with the Reimagined Neighborhoods project where they're rezoning the bylaws to do this. It's actually been around. They've been able to do this for a while. This isn't new.
Yeah.
Is new in the news media, but it makes sense, especially in Hamilton. You look at my place. It's just a small raised ranch on a massive property. We're talking 110 by 60 lot. It's just a big lot, and it's got a small
Right.
house with lots of property. And if you think of where we're struggling right now with a lot of people looking for a rental unit, we've got all these single family homes. This is where when you start to think about multifamily, and this could be, if you're just looking at maybe doing a duplex or a triplex or even converting something into a fourplex with an ADU, I think understanding the bones of the house, you're going to do what? You're either going to retrofit the current building, right,
Right.
and add some stories on top, or you're going to demolish and you're going to start new. I guess that's two different options. What are you seeing right now Mehdi, in the market right now? You see a lot of people demolishing homes and building these four units, or are they just retrofitting the current foundation that's on it?
The most cost effective, obviously, especially in this market, is retrofitting, avoiding a lot of fees when it comes to new build. So there are opportunities if you can like um, demolish two houses and build like 6, 8 unit new builds infill, and that will actually cover a lot of costs of like like new development, the servicing the lot and everything. But for a smaller like 4 unit conversion, a retrofit is the most cost effective, and it's much faster. When you deal with renovation, you're dealing with a department in the city. I know they're not always like very fast, but when it comes to new build, it's just like the process much longer.
Right.
Yeah.
So, so thanks for answering the question about evaluating the current condition of the buildings, and adding some insights into multifamily and retrofitting some of the current properties. I want to talk a little bit more about how you, if I'm a new investor or I'm a seasoned investor, I'm trying to evaluate and determine my renovation goals and my budgets. What goes into that?
So we'll start from the end. So
Oh,
we'll
I
see
see.
how much are we gonna, how much we'll be able to rent this place, considering how many units we can add, and then from there we work our way back to see what is our goal in terms of like cash flowing. And basically, like there's not a huge, like cash flowing is not huge right now. If you can find a property that you can build and it's a small positive cash flow or break even, that's a good property. Still, there are awesome deals that you can buy and it cash flows very well. Those are like one off. Like it's the chances of like somebody find it in their first attempt is very low. So from there, we work backward and see, okay, how much is this house, like how much of debt can be covered with that income? So we can still cover the rest of the expenses and have some savings in the account for like uh, things that are not um, very obvious in the beginning, like vacancy and capex. So once we find out that, and then much better about these numbers, you probably will talk about these. But once we know that, with those numbers, we can find out our renovation budget or
Right.
construction budget. With that, again, we did the assessment in the beginning, and then we have renovation budget. We can say, is it realistic, or what can we do with this budget? And
Right.
it can be is like building an ADU at this moment. Is it a wise thing? Is it better to build up, to do addition? So this way we can find out what's the best way.
Yeah, and if we're talking about from the mortgage standpoint, the financing side, we're still, based on the conversation that we're having, really talking about doing a fourplex, a 4 unit, plus maybe an ADU. If you stay under 5 units, we're going to be a regular residential mortgage. Now, when you're refinancing, you're taking money out of a property to refinance something like this. Typically, lenders will allow you to do that. That's not a problem. There's lots of
Mm.
opportunity to do
Yeah.
that. But when it comes to the ADUs, they're a little sketchy about that, about actually renovating. So a lot of cases, they're not gonna allow you to pull money out just to do an ADU. But if
Yeah.
I think if you combine it into the total construction costs, I think it's a good example. And we're seeing more and more people do it. I'm seeing them pop up on YouTube all the time. Like, hey, check out my
Yeah.
ADU I just built, and they're pretty sophisticated. Some of the ones I've seen in Toronto, man, they're slick looking, especially those laneway ones where you actually have direct access from the laneway. Pretty incredible. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's pretty cool. We talked about some of the budget. Now we're not going to go through a full line by line item budget, but what could someone expect? You've been through these before, where you've converted duplexes and stuff like that. On average, not including the permits and stuff like that, but just the renovations. What's an average cost for someone to renovate? Maybe a house like we have on our, so we got one on our street here that's a bungalow, right?
Yep.
So it's got side entrance downstairs that's not renovated, and it's got a main floor with, say, 3 bedrooms in it. What would be the average cost to convert that into like a duplex?
Yeah. By the way, that what you described is a perfect, like ideal house for conversion. Um, those are, I think, those are post-war
Yep.
bungalows. Yeah, and I love those because you don't need to dig down and add a separate entrance. The like blocking, fire rating, everything is very straightforward. Um, it really depends. I like. I'll give you a range like of what I've been doing because once you step in and see what's happening inside, then you can say what is really needed. Like
Right.
I bought one for myself 2 years ago on my street, and from outside, it was a very sound, very good um, bungalow. When I went inside, I don't know why they removed the post in the basement and put like tree trunk
Oh,
on
shoot.
the. I don't know how it happened. Like it was easier to put a 2x6 there rather than a tree trunk. So, anyways, that was like just one cost added. Like you gotta now dig down, put pour footing, put a steel beam, steel post. But on average, to convert a main house into 2 units, it's anywhere between like let's say 70,000 to 150,000. And this is with not the cheapest material, but something durable, something that like the best return for the money. That like is durable when tenants move in, move out. You don't have to change it all the time. And to add an ADU in the backyard, again, it depends on like if it's 1 unit, 2 unit, depend on the zoning. But if let's say it's we just want to add 1 unit in the backyard, pour the slab, and at like 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, depending on the size of the lot, that would be anywhere between 80,000 to 180,000. So the range is so huge because it really depends on what we need to do, the grading in the backyard, if they want to like put a basement or not. If it so there are a lot of things in it, but when I provide a budget, it's like detailed, like 160 like line items. Not all of them are applicable actually, but like that's a detailed budget, and then we can fine tune it, if you will, to the needs of like every investor is different. So and every property is different, so we can fine tune it.
So since we're talking about that house across the street that we can convert to a duplex, talk to me a little bit about what are some of the things as an investor, if I'm a new investor coming into this, when it comes to zoning regulations, building codes, and permits to complete those renovations. What are some things that I should be considering, and maybe provide me with an example of like some timelines on how long it takes to complete a project based on
Sure,
your.
yeah. So first thing we want to look at it is buying in an area with the right zoning.
Okay.
Not only the right zoning, the right neighborhood. Like one of the first houses I bought to convert into duplex was in Ancaster, in a residential, well-developed neighborhood. And after I bought it, I found out, oops, it was a mistake. Nobody's gonna like convert it into 3 unit and live here. Nowadays, it's different actually.
Right.
But in like it was probably 6 years ago, and it was like it was not good for a conversion. So we look at the neighborhood. From zoning standpoint, we look at the right zoning. Is it zoned properly for like converting into 2 unit, 3 unit? 2 unit is actually allowed like almost everywhere now, but
Yep.
like 3 unit, 4 units, and we want to have potential for the future, even if not we're not doing it right now. So that zoning that can be done like very fast, like before we get into even analyzing the property. Then for permits and everything, when we started get going, we will prepare the drawings with working with architects and structural engineers. Um, and after actually we developed the budget. So for the for getting the actual permit, it's anywhere between they say 6 to 8 weeks, could be longer depending on the city. So this is not something we control. This is city. Um, and during COVID, it was like very long lead time. It was backed up, but nowadays they're catching up. It's been very good actually in the past few months, past year. Right now, it's a little bit of hiccup because of the cyber attack to the
Yep.
uh, city website, which I am actually following up with the city. They're very responsive,
Oh,
very
good.
responsive. Good for us and good for them, but they can't do anything because this website is down. But these are like exceptions. So I would say the whole timeline for getting a permit, getting ready for renovation would be anywhere between 6 to like 12 weeks.
Yeah, and a little bit of an update. I don't know why I sat through almost 6 hours of the municipal committee meeting on all this stuff, but I did. I fast forward a lot of it, but on February 20, I think it was 23rd, the city met to talk about the projected changes and amendments to the current bylaws. So, in Hamilton, we have six different bylaws. Originally, there were six different bylaws, all managed by six different municipalities. It was just a nightmare. And now, what the city is doing is they're changing the zoning, starting with low density. And now we've got what they call R1, R1A, and now they've introduced in the last amendment an R2, which is a larger lot size that can do more than 5 units.
Okay.
So these are going to be more on like corner units, out on main thoroughfares and that sort of thing. But I love what the city's doing. They understand, we've got a huge housing crisis. They're going to be bringing in, I think it was another 400,000 by 2050 or something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyways, don't quote me on that. But we're going to have a lot
That's
more
correct.
people.
They're changing into like a total of 800,000 in the
That's
next few years,
Yeah,
right?
831 is the number I thought.
Yeah.
So just imagine that today. I think we're just over 500,000,
Right.
and we still don't have enough properties and units for people now.
Yeah.
So I know there's a lot of pushback from people, but I love what the city of Hamilton's doing on the Reimagine Neighborhoods project, which is actually just talking about how they're changing the zonings. But what they're doing in the last one was adding in more places, so more actual neighborhoods. So now it's Stony Creek all the way to Waterdown, and even they included Ancaster in the last one. Now it's not clear; it's hard to find the data on this stuff because the city's being down. Because you used to be able to just use the interactive zoning map to see
Yeah.
what's an R1, R1A, and now if it's an R2, you can't tell because of the cyber hack. But yeah, I think it's great, and I think if you want to get into real estate investing, obviously interest rates are an issue. It shouldn't be the only thing that you're thinking about, though. You should be thinking about, you know, um, can I make changes to this property to cash flow it? I was talking to
Yeah.
my stepson last night and over dinner, and we're talking about, okay, what are you going to do? How are you going to get into the market? And he's like, I don't make enough money. Like he was just clear on it. It's like I'm not ready to move out. But now he's talking with friends, and maybe they're going to joint venture into a place. And I'm like, well, that makes sense. Buy a duplex. The both of you go into it together. So you're seeing a lot more people interested in investing in real estate. But I think having you on our channel talking a little bit about what it's actually like from a construction standpoint and providing some best practices certainly help.
Yeah.
Before we end the conversation, Mehdi, and I appreciate you talking about assessing and planning. So we're going to be doing a lot more of this. We're going to be covering off, design development, obtaining actual permits, tenant communication, construction, and more videos coming forward. But
Right.
anything that you want to talk about today?
So just in general, like after we do all of this, or before purchasing or anything, we would ask the investors. I would always ask my client to just consult with their lawyers and an accountant, because we don't know all the details on their side, and it's always a good idea to have them on board. Um, we have like for from the investing standpoint, we have our preferred lawyers and accountant that are familiar with this process, and so we can like use their expertise as well. On something that you said, the last thing I would add is that you were talking about like people are thinking whether to buy now or like when the interest rates are lower. I bought on low interest, high interest, in between. It's challenging to like to buy at high interest, but it's much easier than when the interest rates are low and everybody's competing for anything that comes to market. So nowadays, I find out that you can buy good investment properties that are better structured, lower your construction budget will be lower because when interest rates are up, now you're competing with homeowners. They're always willing to pay more for a property if they like it. Their decisions are emotional. Uh, for us as an investor, it's all numbers. If it doesn't work, we can't offer more. But now you're not competing with them because they're all sitting back and say, "I'm not." They are homeowners. They're not changing homes because interest rates are up. They're scared. For a savvy investor, they can just look at the numbers. If it makes sense, they go in and buy it.
That's great advice. And that's funny because the savvy investors I'm seeing, like I've seen so many commercial deals come across my desk recently than I've seen previously, right? Last year.
Yeah.
And that's because, they're trying to pencil in some deals. There's a lot of, and on the other side of that, you had a lot of people that were getting into these investment properties with not really having a plan. And now they're realizing, oh my God, I'm paying double the amount in mortgage. I don't have the 90 to 120 days of cash to help me maintain this and pay the interest rate. So they're selling these things off.
Yeah.
And we saw that happening starting like 6 months ago, right?
Right.
So yeah, that's good advice.
That's a good opportunity for somebody who wants to get into market.
100%. All right, let's end that on that note, Mehdi. I just want to thank you so much for being on the show and providing some helpful insights. I will provide your information in the show notes, so if anyone wants to reach out and talk to you about potential construction or planning for their investment property, they'll know how to get a hold of you. But yeah, thank you so much, Mehdi.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dwayne. It was great talking to you.
All right. Bye for now.
Take care. Bye.